And bring her onto the screen. I give you Savika Anna, everybody. Good morning to you. Hola, bom dia, tudo bem?
Bom dia.
Good
How
to
have
see
you been the past month?
Well, that's flown by for one thing, isn't it, Anna? It's already February. What's happening?
Yeah, it's actually definitely was quite fast.
It was, wasn't it? So it wasn't just me then. You've had a busy month, I take. Well, you're always pretty busy, aren't you? Savvy Cat HQ.
I try
So
to
it's been
be.
a fast one. What's been going on for you? How is the world of Savvy Cat?
Well, it's quite good because the start of the year tends to be good for us because there's also people that do their New Year resolutions of moving. So that's a good thing for Savvy Cat as a business. And I guess that this is when you are looking to move into a different country, it's a very big challenge and a very long process. So the sooner you start, the better, of course. And a lot of people like to start at the beginning of the year.
Very good, very good. And I heard last night, there was a question asked on a session that I was hosting last night, that seemed to be a few more rentals on Idealista. Is it a seasonal thing? And the theory that was given last night was a little bit poignant because it was apparently a lot of Portuguese people have that same resolution to be moving to Portugal, but go elsewhere. And it was suggested that there are a few more rentals available because Portuguese people are leaving the country and are putting their homes up for rent here, which is good news if you're looking for somewhere to rent. Would you agree with that theory? And more generally, do you think there's more inventory coming onto the market?
I think that's a factor, yes, but it depends actually on the area too. But for example, in Lisbon, thankfully the market has been deflating a bit, so you have been seeing a bit of decrease in prices and a bit more availability on the market. I'm not sure if it's due to what you are saying, Portuguese people leaving, or if it's due to a reduction in foreign interest due to the whole the NHR situation not being available anymore. But overall, I think it's a positive thing because honestly, things were way too inflated.
Okay, all right. So good theories and insight into what's going on there. And of course, you published a video in the last few weeks as well, looking at changes, other influences on the real estate market there, with quite the title, I think, of your last video. Is it becoming more dangerous to buy? This isn't about supply, is it? This is about, I suppose, terms and conditions of buying in Portugal and what the government have been up to make it even more difficult, you might argue. So can you tell us more about that?
So yeah, our lovely government, the whole thing of simplex, the measurements that they were scheduled to launch to simplify and improve the market situation. And some of them make sense, some of them don't. And one of the measures that I find doesn't make a lot of sense is that they decided that it's no longer mandatory to show a habitation license and technical file when you are buying a property. So I find that to be rather odd. I understand that there are properties that are stuck in the market because they are illegal and there might be a need to move them. I definitely don't think this was the right way to do that. I think that an exception should be made for those properties so that in specific cases you can make the transaction without those documents. I don't think that the documents should have been overall nullified on the deed because they are quite important documents.
Okay, all right. So what do you think should have been done? Just leave it alone, or I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? When you have, it's a bit like the tax code, isn't it? When you just keep adding things to try and presumably fix a previous problem, you're creating a new problem all the time, aren't you? And the law often works in that way as well. Just keep adding, and things become more complex, and the original idea disappears long into the rearview mirror as something that's almost been forgotten about. So, what would be your suggestion in that instance?
I think the logic they say behind this solution is that it was to simplify the buying process.
Right.
I think that the buying process isn't that bad. Having these two documents, they are quite important documents. And I mean, they still will be mandatory if you are looking for a loan and so on. But I think it definitely makes it more risky to buy in Portugal, because unless you have someone that is representing just you as a buyer, it makes it a lot easier to get a bad deal or to get something that is not legal and you are not even aware, because it's no longer mandatory to show these documents.
Okay.
So I don't agree with that at all. And like I was saying, I think if it was because of the whole trying to move immovable property due to legal situations, I think an exception should be made, as in if the property has been on the market for X time, or I don't know, some kind of exception, those documents can be forfeit. It shouldn't have just been removed for everyone.
Do you think maybe a little bit of political posturing just before the election? You asked us to take action. There you go. There's some action for you.
Well, there are other things that were proposed that I think are rather positive, but like everything, there are the pros and the cons. A lot of these things are related to licensing and the bureaucratic processes of building and so on. Some things were facilitated. There were some requirements on building. For example, it was mandatory to have a bidet in a bathroom, and the kitchen's requirements were very strict. Like, for example, it was very hard to license kitchenettes because they weren't considered a proper kitchen. And some of those requirements have been loosened, so it's no longer required to have a bidet in an apartment for it to be legal.
Wow.
And it's also easier to get smaller kitchens licensed and kitchenettes and so on, which I think it's positive. And one of the most significant changes, in my opinion, was actually the whole thing around the licensing times. So, as you probably know, licensing in Portugal is a pain, a very big pain, and a very, very slow thing. It can take anywhere between 3 months and 2 years to get things processed in town halls. And it is particularly frustrating because there is this whole thing where you have 30 business days deadline that they should reply to you. But what they often did was that once that period was finishing, they would request a minor document or a minor change in order to restart the period, and it just would go on for way too long. So one of the things that was changed that I believe is quite positive is that they are no longer allowed to do that, and the deadlines are final. They did, however, change the way that the deadlines worked. So it used to be 60 business days for everything. And then there was this whole thing where those days could be restarted by asking documentation. And now it's different. So for small projects, I'm not sure exactly of the sizes right now, but I believe it's under 300 square meters. It is the 60 business days. Then up to 500 something, it's 120. And then over 1,000 something square meters, it's 300 business days.
Okay, so that's going to be good, right?
Yeah, I think 300 business days, it's a long time, but I think it makes a lot more sense than just being able to restart the licensing every time they ask for something.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awful, doesn't it? You could be in an awful time loop with that. And it does sound like a move in the right direction, if not ultimately the best solution. But will it be like, when people are applying a VFS or a consulate and they're told it's a certain number of business days and then they don't hear anything? And clearly the law has been breached, but actually nothing happens. How will this be enforced, do you think?
Yeah, that's the thing, because right now, if they don't get the license within that period, they get something called deferimento tácito. Deferimento tácito is basically an automatic approval due to the government not keeping their end of the bargain, so not keeping with the deadline. So in these situations, if they don't do the things within those deadlines, the projects will be automatically approved, which I think it's a good thing. But like everything, it also has the risks. And one of the risks is that if projects that aren't correctly made, like aren't in aligned with certain regulations, like the municipal guidelines, or have something that is actually illegal, although that they get automatically approved, the works can still be mandated to stop because they don't comply with legal things. However, if everything is aligned on the initial project, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so kind of good news, it would appear, or at least a move in the right direction. So that's great. Anything else that people need to be aware of in these recent legal changes that has come to your attention?
So the tax on alojamento local seems to have been approved after all. The special tax on alojamento local. It is going to be, I think it's between 19 and 35 euros per square meter, depending on the type of property and profit and everything else. From what I read, it was approved kind of on the last minute thing. So the regulation, they were supposed to launch the whole regulation on how this was calculated. And once again, they didn't launch it within the deadline that they set. And they launched it in the last day of the year, last year. And so there are still speculation on whether or not and how this will go, because it will launch outside of the deadline and kind of in the last day of the year. But theoretically, it should be applied this year. And it says that this charge will be made, I believe, in September in 2024.
Right. And just rewinding back a little bit, am I right in thinking, did you say that bidets are no longer a requirement in Portuguese building code in certain types of property?
The buildings?
The bidet, yeah, the bidet installation in bathrooms. Did I hear that when you?
Yes.
Right, okay,
because it used to be mandatory to have a bidet.
Yeah, and then you've got the foreigners coming in thinking, I don't think I'm going to be using that, because it's not for a lot of people, it's not a cultural thing. And then they realize, when they're doing building work, that it needed to be. It was in the code, wasn't it? So is this just general?
The thing is, the plan has to have space for a bidet, but it didn't actually need to be installed. But you still would have to have the pre-installation, like the water connection and so on. You didn't mandatorily have to put the bidets itself. You could put something else there, but it had to be possible to install a bidet in at least one bathroom in any legal apartment or house.
But that's no longer the case, or that is the new law? It's no longer the case. Wow. But that must have been someone very attached to the idea. Can you imagine that wrangle in the parliament? Right, we want to get rid of these things. Nobody uses them anymore. Well, I'm really uncomfortable about this. Okay, you can get rid of it, but it needs to be possible to fit one if somebody wants one in the future. Okay, it's a deal.
Actually, that law hasn't been, it was made 50 years ago. So
really? That's incredible, isn't it? So clearly, Portuguese people culturally attached to the bidets, the bidet, which is always a source of amusement. I think it was Katia Lima who wrote a very good article about the use of the bidet here in Portugal. Great stuff. Anything else to report then, Savika Anna?
Yeah, there was some other changes regarding making the licensing projects more simple and giving more responsibility to the technician, so it's faster to do the processes. Overall, I think that this is going to take a while to adapt. As you know, public services aren't exactly known for being quick on their adaptation skills.
Well, yes.
So I'm curious to see how this will all actually play out, because I think town halls will take quite a while to adapt to these changes. But overall, I think the changes are positive.
Very good. It's good to hear that. Excellent. And I'm reminded that I started in a fit of pique.
Other than the license thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Notwithstanding the license thing. Now, I'm reminded that recently we had a call. I can't remember from which government department, but I think we called a helpline and got some fantastic help. I was immediately inspired to start a Facebook group to report such things. It's like the opposite of the complaints book. I think it's really important where we get great service and cheerful service from government workers.
Yeah.
That we might even say, this person in Alcabasa office or in Caldas de Rainha was really great. Thank you so much. And then we kind of start to change this, great.
But there is actually something called the livro de elogios. That is what you are saying, like the opposite of the complaint book is like the compliment book. And some business places have it, but it's of course not something mandatory.
No, we want the complaints book is a legal requirement, but the smiley book, yeah, not so much. And I suppose people in a way expect good service, don't they? So they don't want to have to go the extra.
That's the irony, though. I think Portuguese people don't expect good service on public service at all. We actually get surprised when we get some good service. I know that happened to me some time ago. I needed something. I don't know I think it was from Segurança Social, and it's usually horrible to deal with Segurança Social. So I was expecting it for it to be a pain because it usually is. But then the lady that I got was really, really nice, and I was just surprised, like
shocked.
Wow, that went a lot better than I thought it would.
Yeah. Why is there an ambulance outside this office? Oh, somebody had some really good service and it shocked them. They went into a state of shock, and we thought we'd call a paramedic just in case. Wow, how lovely to hear. And what was the name of that? What's the name of the good book? The Book of Smiles?
Livro de elogios.
Elogios. How lovely. Yes, remember where you heard it first.
Like compliment book.
Yeah, and it's like, has anyone seen the compliment book? No one's asked for it for 3 years.
You actually see it in some usually private establishments. They sometimes you have the paper that you have to do for the complaint book. With usually red with some white parts, and then often next to you have the thing saying we have a compliment book. So
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Thanks for letting us know about that this morning on Feel Good Friday. Now there's a little bit of a conversation going on in the chat. Let's say a few hellos as well. Lovely to see you here, Andrew from Villa Azul. Graça, that's the place where you're living, in central Portugal by the sound of it. Love watching your shows from the UK. Now I'm here. That's wonderful. We'd love to see that transition. And I'm presuming it's northern Travança near Mancelos Ligia. My wife family are from there. No, I don't think it's a central Portugal one of the Travança for Barak, as far as I'm aware. And yes, Andrew and I have spoken in the past. Loved your wine reviews. Very funny watching you all get tipsy. I love Andy. So, sorry, I added the love there. Next Monday, we'll be if you want to join us for the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club, first Monday of the month. So that will be the 5th of February, next Monday evening at 8:00. Grab a bottle from the Alentejo. Nobody, surely, at Sabica Anna, no one's going to struggle to find a bottle of red wine from the Alentejo, are they? If they go to Portugal.
Thankfully, it's very easy to find wine in Portugal.
Yes, so there you go. The compliments book and a bottle of wine. It's going to be Feel Good Monday as well. So grab a bottle from the Alentejo and come onto the screen. Join us as we have a little sip of Alentejo wine and talk about it. And that was the police demonstration. I don't know if you saw that bit there. The police who were claiming the same rights as the PJ. They get paid peanuts, says Pete. And no way it's 20,000 cops there, as the PSP and GNR have some 45,000 in the entire country. Maybe their families and friends were there as well. Or I think, as Pete was pointing out, maybe Donald Trump was in charge of the head count. Very good. We have a new news from Alcabasa. We have a new co-work place opening soon in Alquibi. These are popping up all over this is a part of the digital nomad trend, I suppose, isn't it, Savikat? And are you seeing this happening around the country as well? Co-work places?
Yes, I'm definitely seeing a steep increase in co-working places. I think they only started showing up in the last I don't know, 5 years or so. They were very, very rare before that.
Mm.
And I would say that most of them get filled quite quickly. So it's actually in most places, even here in Porto, where you have a bunch of them, a lot of them are just full capacity. So I would say there's definitely a demand for it.
Very good. And Pam, my mate, was telling me about a wonderful dinosaur park near you. Now, I'm guessing that is Lorigna, the fantastic town dedicated to dinosaurs, really, when you go there. There's a dinosaur in every roundabout. His son had learned every detail of every dinosaur, and he's only 4. It's a fantastic place. Have you been there, Anna?
Yes.
Lorigna is great, isn't it? You can even get chicken, you get dinosaur nuggets. That we've enjoyed there as well. Or were they croquet potatoes? Anyway, everything is dinosaur themed over there, and very, very nice staff and a great experience. Yes, it's in Lorigna. Been there twice, says Antonio F. It's called Dino Park Lorigna. And this thing of changing the law or the tax code, yes, it's like installing more programs when your computer needs a reboot. Yes, absolutely like that. We need more examples and fewer laws. I think I saw long ago on the banks of the River Thames. Yes, more examples and fewer laws. Good morning from Boaz then, who suggested that to us. Lovely to see you here, Boaz. How are you? Isn't Portugal marvellous? Ain't it marvellous? Dinosaurs in the morning and the beach and the waves in the afternoon. Absolutely. Lorignan, not that far from the coast, of course, as well in Peniche. Bon fin semana from Aviva Ocean Dweller over there in Madeira. And the question for you, Anna, who would decide if it's aligned, the architect or the lawyer? Do you remember that what that refers to?
Neither one. It's basically there is a pre-existing there is something called the PDM, so the municipal plan for urbanism, and the PDM it regulates how construction is made and what you can and cannot do. And then there's also legal requirements by law for construction, like this whole BDAT thing and other changes. There are some restrictions that are made and so on and so forth, and some minimum requirements. So if you don't comply with those, then you are not complying with the law. It's not about either the architects or the lawyers. It's about the pre-existing laws and requirements that should actually be consulted when you are developing the project. So it's overall a matter of responsibility of the person that is submitting. But I would say I'm not so sure that everyone is responsible. So we will see.
Okay, excellent. Who would decide then if it's aligned, the architect or the lawyer? There's your answer there, Boaz. And yeah, nice to see you here. Bon dia all from Jackie, the humble crafter. How you doing? Michael Whitby is in as well. Bon dia todos. I'm hoping you'll be there on Monday for the wine club, Michael and Kat. Bon dia todos de Virase. Great sunny morning. Water temperature up to 16 now. Sounds like you're going into the water. I did on Monday or Tuesday evening. It was fantastic in San Martino de Porto. Squire of the Shires, bon dia todos, off to the docks. We'll catch up later. Is that our dock? Dock Andy, you in Leria, or just generally speaking there? Good luck anyway with that, Squire. Morning to you. And is the Livro de Elogios available online like the Livro de Reclamações, the complaints book?
I actually don't know that. I was asking myself that before. I'm not sure. Because I've mostly seen it physical. So honestly, I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. This is Jackie continuing with her comments. I hope you're having a beautiful day. That's lovely, Jackie. Thank you very much. And hiya to me. Great to see the lovely Savvy Cat here. Another fab channel for great advice. Wonderful. And talking about, this was the guest book, not the complaints book or the compliments book. I saw what Carl wrote in the book in his favorite museum in Coimbra. That was in the Erotic Museum of Coimbra, which is a very interesting place. Have you been there, Savvy Anna?
Actually, I haven't. I was just, I don't know that one.
It's extraordinary. I was quite shocked. Am I easily? Yeah, I'm quite vanilla, I suppose. So it was quite a shocking experience for me. And to be in there with, 2 other giggling men who are also a bit uncomfortable, it was really quite awkward, but funny as well, because they've got some really hilarious things in there. And I wrote in the guest book, this is disgusting. More, please. And I think Bobby said, yes, this place should be burnt to the ground and a bigger one built in its place. I've not been to the Dino Park in Lorigna. Maybe we'll make the trip if we have visitors with kids. Do you know what?
Really nice. And the kids usually love it. I remember it was one of the favorite things of my brother when he was young. We would go there on purpose every now and again.
Yeah, and you don't have to be with kids or have kids to go there. You'd be fine walking about because it's mainly outdoors, and it's, if anything, it's a lovely walk in the woods with lots of great big dinosaurs around you. Some of them are animatronic, as I recall as well. Wine from Stabal next Monday. Oh, am I mistaken? So it's not an Alentejo wine; it's a Stubs wine, perhaps. Can we have confirmation on that then, please, Michael? And what's that? Same. Cheers. Nice and sunny in the Algarve. Ah, okay. Yes. Good to see you, Boaz. And Antonio, after the Humble Crafter, Jackie, gym session already done now at work with a sunny day, and it's Friday. There's a feel good Friday right there. Wow, that's lovely that you're listening to us whilst working. More of that, please, Portugal. Well, you've been busy, Antonio F. I've had 2 cups of tea and done nothing yet, sat on the boat there in the UK. Fantastic. So, these are farmers then here in Portugal. Do I recall correctly that some of your ancestors have been in farming here in Portugal, or at least keen to owners, Sabica Anna?
Yes, I have an uncle that has a big plot of land in Douro, and he does cultivation of, it even has his own wine and does almonds and some other crops. So, yeah.
That's superb. Now, this is gathering ground. I made a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek video earlier on in the week because I saw a tractor driving past into my street. And I said, "Yeah, it's the Portugal farmers' protest," but it has escalated. And we played a video of how some roads in Portugal were shut down by farmers on tractors, taking on some of the conditions that they're finding prohibitive to their work. And just to give you a scale, a sense of how important I think farming is here in Portugal, according to the CAP, the Agricultural Policy Strategic Plan, there are over 250,000 active farms here in Portugal, which cover around 3.6 million hectares of utilised land. 80% of them are family farms, and there are 39% female farmers in the Portugal agricultural labour force. Portuguese agriculture is highly varied with significant diversity in climate, topography and soil conditions. The sectors with the largest production are wine, of course, cereals, fruit and veg, olive oil, pig meat and poultry. However, the primary sector only contributes to less than 3% of the country's total of the country's economy, the total GVA. That's interesting, isn't it? And that tells you a lot, doesn't it? That even though the farmers contribute so much to our lives, they are a small part of the economy. You could argue what they're doing is not taken that seriously, but that's not an invitation to put up the prices of wine and food, is it?
No, I think things are set up in a way that are very unsustainable from the people that are at the start of the chain, and this is farmers, because the way that things often work is that, like that article was saying, most of the small farms and crops are small scale crops, and then usually there are local cooperativas, so basically I don't know how you translate that to English right now, but just groups of farms that come together. And usually those cooperativas then get the legal part of things, to get the seals of safety and all of that, because that is often a significant cost that it's not worth it for small producers to have.
Yep.
So often these cooperativas then produce the final product by joining several of these small farms together, and this can be wine or olive oil or whatever that is. But generally, the costs that the sellers themselves sell their product, it's ridiculously low. Because then it's the whole thing of you sell to the cooperativas, then the cooperativas often sell to the supermarkets, and the supermarkets sell to the public. Mm-hmm. And usually who has the biggest profit is the supermarkets, and they often offer absolutely absurd prices to the farmers. And like you were saying, this is a problem, of course, because people don't want to pay more, but farmers don't really want to work for free either. And it's a very labor intensive work that less and less people are willing to do. And yep. For example, in my uncle's farm, we are talking about a plot of land in the side of Douro that is not easy land. It's a very steep land, very rocky, and so on. It's land that it's fertile but very hard to cultivate. And I don't know internationally, but I would guess that from an international perspective, our farmers are very underpaid.
Yep.
And this is likely also a technology issue. Like, I believe it's the Netherlands that have a huge export of agricultural products and one of the highest production rates per square meter. And often this is due to technology farms, the vertical farms and so on. And you don't see a lot of that here in Portugal yet. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement in this sector.
Yep, and it's a shame, isn't it, when a sector is only judged by its contribution in monetary terms to the economy, that can miss out how important its contribution is in other ways, socially and as part of the community as well. I think we just need a new value system to make sure those people prosper. Rather than have their conditions made more difficult and eventually go out of business. That's the worst case scenario.
And it's ironic because Portuguese is known for having some of the best product around. So we often export our products as luxury product because we have really good soil and tend to have really good product, like oranges and blueberries and so on. It's
so many
all
things
that are considered luxury in certain countries. Like we used to export a lot, for example, to Russia, and it's Portuguese fruits there were considered the top of luxury.
It's happening to Brazil, and I will get a company on from Caldas de Rainha who can't find enough apples and pears to send to Brazil. But there's something wrong with the whole picture of agriculture, isn't there? And I think we need to reframe it and reappraise it and be more supportive to the farmers. So good luck to them in their endeavours. Can you stay with us for a little bit longer, Savika Anna? Bobby won't be joining us, but Siobhan is on the line and going to be joining us now from Arquinta, who's been known to grow a bit of food and might have something to say about farming. Good morning to you, Sean. You would have heard our comments there about farmers and how important it is to value the work they do. Have we seen any tractors rolling through Celia de Porto yet?
Any tractors?
Yes. The bay isn't blocked, I take it, this morning.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't been down to the bay, so I have no idea what's going on down there. But I think it's interesting what you guys are talking about in farming. Yeah, here at the Quinta, we do produce a little bit for ourselves, but not much more than that. And what Abby was saying about soils is, as we do have very rich soils here in Portugal, we also struggle with soils in Portugal. So here at the Quinta, thanks to my fellow friend there, my best friend behind me, as you can see, he's there.
Not the cockerel, the horse, right?
The horse. We've managed to change a lot of our soil, enrich it with his valuable horse manure, which has changed a lot. And yeah, for the grocery stores and all that, Abby, you're right. There's nothing to say, right? There's certain things that aren't balanced yet. And agricultural production, hopefully Portuguese products will get more support. And they won't turn too chemical, too forced. And see where we're going. But we're actually lucky because I do see changes when it comes to the grocery shops. Like, we're on a plan where they donate, Auchan from Caldas donates all their fruits and vegetables that cannot be consumed by humans any longer. They come off the shelf, they all come to us. So that's always good. And then whatever's not consumed by the animals goes back in the soil. So I think on a small scale, lots of farmers are trying to do the little things. Obviously, this isn't our profession, so it's not the same. But still, everyone's trying, and hopefully we'll keep the Portuguese heritage nice and pure and healthy.
It's very important. It's very important to this culture, isn't it, farming? So let's see what we can do to support the farmers. And it's a complex.
But yeah, that's actually a very good point, because one of the things that was a trend internationally was to have these huge productions that tend to be highly dependent on chemicals. And that's not a huge thing in Portugal. I mean, there are some huge hectares of farmland, especially in Alentejo, and usually very focused on olives. But overall, I think we are still very balanced when it comes to chemical use. And for example, Brazil, like you were saying, exporting to Brazil, and I do have a tight relationship with Brazil and go there every year. And one of the things that really bothers me in Brazil is exactly the quality of food, like food and vegetables, how unnatural they are and how different the flavor is. And it literally tastes like chemicals in most of the cases. And as a Portuguese person that grew up even in a farm where I could even climb the trees and eat the fruits directly from there,
Wonderful.
it's just, I never, only when I became an adult, I realized how much of a privilege that is.
Yeah. Well, why would you? You would you, if that's what you grow up with, that's what you think is normal. And you make a really good point about Brazil, and that's presumably why. This is a wonderful company. It's the Pomar de Marialva, just outside Caldas de Rainha, and met with the family who've been growing. They've had orchards for, I think, 3 or 4 generations. And their big business opportunity is exporting to Brazil. And you can't blame them for that. It's kind of insane in another way, isn't it, that we are flying fruit around the world in the way that we are. But you can't, and for the reasons you've given, Anna, if there's massive technological agriculture going on in Brazil, as I recall when I was in California, big fruit, great looking fruit, but with no taste. It's all kind of...
Yeah, and another thing is that those tend to be very intensive cultures that often completely ruin the soils.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't really do the crop rotation.
Yeah,
Carl,
well said.
Carl, I think that's also, as you know, for our nonprofit, for our project that we have here on a Quinta, we work a lot with the younger generation. And for me, that's my biggest concern, is that, great, we have these farmers that have been going on for generations and generations that are doing amazing things, but we've got to get the younger generations involved and realize how it's not just a game. We're not just doing this to play outside. It's also because what are we going to do in the future?
Well said.
There's very few younger generations, and that's what we need, is the younger generation to kick in and start taking over those farms, being involved, learning the traditions, learning how you can do it without just a speedy chemical process. And that, for me, is my biggest concern, is the next generation. What are we doing to help that next generation to keep these traditions? And this is all over the world, not only Portugal, but preserving the land and creating our food, but in a healthy way.
Well said. Well said.
I think one of the big issues on that,
concern.
Yeah.
For us, the young generation, I think that one of the big things is how labor intensive that is and how little monetary reward that is for that kind of work.
Right.
Like,
that's exactly the problem.
I have a bunch of lands that are inherited from my father, and these are very fertile lands. These are very good lands in Aveiro area. And I looked into developing biofarming projects and so on. And overall, I ended up giving up on it because even the agricultural engineer that I consulted at the time, he was like, okay, you should probably do the chemical at the start because there's a very high risk of losing the whole crop. And until the crops are grown, it's better not to do bio and only start doing bio after everything is secure. And then even with the incentive programs for rural development and crop development and so on, it still required a fairly heavy investment, and the return is very slow. It takes a lot of years to get return on it. And then it also required for one of us, so we are 3 brothers, to be full-time on that and also be on like a training program sponsored by the government and so on.
Wow.
So overall, I it's not that I think it's a bad thing. It's just that it ends up not making a lot of sense to a lot of people because of how slow everything is. And it's like you have to put a lot of money and you only start seeing it back like 5 to 10 years after.
Yeah, and
for sure. And I think, sorry, Carl, go ahead. This is a subject
I think it's a great subject to be talking about. And it doesn't make sense in an insane society, does it? With the values we've got, the problem is characterized as it's too much work for too little money, and that's based on the values of our society, isn't it? Whereas if you look at it from the point of view of how wholesome it is from a bigger perspective to be growing food for people, and for people to be involved in growing food and growing the food they eat and their families eat and their communities eat, that
And
makes
it's not just that.
sense.
It's also the whole available capital. Like young people, they tend not to have a lot of disposable capital. So it's very hard for us to invest, like, let's say 10,000, 30,000 into something that we will only be seeing back 5 to 10 years later.
Right, absolutely. And again, that's how economics work in our culture, right? In a longer sighted, if you thought 7 generations ahead, that would be a blink of an eye, wouldn't it? But if you think half a generation ahead or to next week, that makes no sense at all. Siobhan, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No. It's good. It's interesting. It's a subject we could talk for hours and hours and hours about. And I think it's all about sustainability, and sustainability means also, that it's sustainable for us human beings. Yeah. Sustainability is not only people thinking about, we're going to plant the perfect bio plant. No, it's called, we should be doing reasonable farming. So sometimes there are chemicals involved, I think, for it to be sustainable, and then find a way that it can be sustainable for everybody. But that means living also for young people, giving them chances, not just young people, everybody. Today, that's, when people talk about us, like at the Quinta, yes, we're a permaculture farm. Yes, we don't use any chemicals. We do our very best, but I still drive a diesel truck. Why do I drive a diesel truck? Because I don't have the means to drive a non-diesel truck. So every time I go down to the beach and I clean, I don't know how many thousands of kilos of plastic, and then I drive back up the road with my diesel truck, and everyone says, well, why are you doing that? And I said, because that's all I can sustain at this point. I don't have other options. If I had other options, I would do it. And I think people don't realize that that's exactly what we're all talking about, is it has to be sustainable for everybody. And sustainable means that everybody has to live as well. So
well said. And economic sustainability, I think it's one of the big problems on agriculture in Portugal, because there is none.
Exactly. And that's where the support is needed.
Yeah, the prognosis is not a good one, and this is understandable why the farmers are protesting, and why we might support them. Many of our farmers worldwide, says Michael, live on small margins. I met a pig farmer 2 weeks ago who lost everything during COVID. This is very sad, isn't it? He ended up killing half of his 4,000 hogs there. Now he drives a cab. I believe the cooperative movement started in Rochdale in the 19th century, and I think it's alive and well, fair to say, here in Portugal, at least for the time being, Pam. Part of the problem rests on the hypermarkets, the larger supermarkets, as they impose prices and rules on farmers. They take their production, but for a very small profit, and sell it very expensive. And of course, we play our part in that because we don't want to pay too much for food necessarily. Refood, Alcabasa, and probably others donate any food not suitable for human consumption for animals. Reducing food waste is one of their main principles. That's fantastic, Pam, and Pam works over there. We have an agricultural school in Alcabasa that does a lot of good work, and no one wants to do physical work. They want to sit at a desk all day and then go to the gym to get fit. No, that's not true at Quinta, is it? This weekend, if you want to get fit, cleaning the beach, as Siobhan was talking about.
Carl, please, Pamela, please reach out to us. If you have programs or things that are for young children, we're fighting on our end to get the kids involved. And it's not just to be farmers or in agriculture professionally, but to, more and more people are buying land out here. Why in Portugal? Just to have a tiny little place to grow their own fruits and vegetables. You know that, Carl. Have your own eggs. The more stuff we do all together, we help each other out. I think, there we can make our little difference. And yes, beach clean this weekend. I'm making brunch and then beach clean. And everyone's really lucky because the tide's low at 3:00. So we have time for brunch, and nobody has to wake up at 6:00 in the morning to come clean the beach with me. Everyone's welcome. You can sign up online. Because that's why most people don't come, is because I get up too early. It should be fun on Sunday. We'll see you there, Carly.
That's put me on the spot, isn't it? Fantastic. Maybe I will. That's this coming Sunday, isn't it? And the link for that's on our lovesndp.com San Martino de Porto website. I've just put the link for that into the chat. But that's a great shout. So you can get brunch, and then is it brunch before or after the beach clean?
Brunch is at 11. Yeah. And then we'll be heading down to the beach all together. And it's going to be at the main beach, starting in Salir at the dunes and then heading around the bay. We're doing that to make sure it's a very accessible beach clean, because sometimes I'm known for taking people a little bit on the harder beaches. So Everyone's welcome. You can bring your kid. My
Is it?
cousin's coming who has special needs. So, we've really made it so this Sunday it's really a family and event, and everybody can do it. You don't have to have special hiking shoes or anything.
You
And the
local
weather's
legends.
gonna be good.
So it's not beach clean boot camp. It's an easier one.
No. This is BBC Beach Brunch Clean. So yeah, it should be nice. Get
All
everybody
right.
together.
Wonderful. And you've been busy. Savika Anna's going to love this. I didn't realize you hadn't met before. So Siobhan over at Aquinta Salida de Porto and Savika Anna Caramujo here. I thought you might have known each other from before. This you'll like, I think, Anna. This is something that Siobhan's doing at the print on demand part of the operation. The Silver Coast Cattery. You've been organising some rather nice decalization. Is that what you call it? Are these
decals? Yeah, that's the car we just finished. Very happy. Now, just to explain, so people understand, it's nothing to do with the Quinta. When I try and explain to people what the Quinta is a non-profit organization that we started, an association. It's kind of, I'm not very religious, so this is my church. Okay, it's something we're passionate about, so that's the Quinta project. And then my business on the side is a printing company that we've started, and as you see, the Cattery had their car done this week by us, so it's we're pretty proud of it. It took quite a few hours, and that's what we're doing. And yes, on the printing side of things, we're getting very, very busy doing t-shirts, sweatshirts, branding for people, cars, signage, shop fronts, a little bit of everything. And our big thing is really like working with the customers directly, because obviously there's a lot of online stuff that you can go direct, but ours is really a customer service thing. So from the beginning, A to Z, run around to Lisbon, everywhere. So yeah, that's the print. So Carl knows he has a few mugs, and I have a box of mugs I have to do for you, Carl, as well. So yeah,
this is where I get my mugs from these days. Not flying them all over the world, but just around the corner on the other side of the bay.
So Savvy Cat, you could think that's funny that we're actually doing a print business. So obviously we're using a lot of vinyl as well. So once again, it's a sustainability thing, and we do offer an eco-friendly printing source. So we are doing organic cottons and recyclable plastics, etc. But once again, we try and do our best not to waste and serve the customer what they need with a product that lasts a long time. That's it.
Superb. Excellent stuff. So I'm going to be going and doing a few more events listings after we've said goodbye this morning, but it'd be great just to get some final words from you as we head into the weekend and answer just a couple more questions and comments here. We've got there's also a Fruta Feia, the Ugly Fruit, a cooperative that sells ugly fruit and veggies that supermarkets refuse for how it looks, but it's perfectly fine. And they sell it cheap for the public. So that's Ugly Fruit. And hi to the lovely horse behind Siobhan. What's your horse's name, Siobhan?
Oh, he's looking straight at us. He's hungry. He's actually a Portuguese Lusitano. I don't know if you can see, but he likes to be muddy. He's a chic horse, but he likes to be as muddy as he's like me. His name is Veron, which is a Spanish name. So his breeder was French and gave my Portuguese horse a Spanish name. His name is Varon, like Baron. Oh. Yeah. So we've had to deal with some of the ego problems we've had because of that, because he's actually Portuguese. So
he's got an identity crisis.
He has traveled around the world with me. His parents were Portuguese. I bought him in France off a breeder. My friends took him to England with me, and when we decided to come back to Portugal, that was the only condition, was that we could afford to bring the horse back first. So then he traveled in luxury, and we traveled in not so much luxury. So he goes everywhere.
He's home, isn't he? He's in his spiritual home as a Lusitano.
He completely is, and even his health and everything, it just balanced out. And people think I'm crazy, but the minute he got here, he's much more rustic. He's much happier. He goes on the beach with me when we're allowed, of course, before we cause an uproar in the winter. He lives with goats. And he's a very happy chap, and he loves it because every time we ride in the market ladies always run out to give him apples. So he's like, and now he's a big part of his food now is actually fruits and veggies coming off the market from Auchan. So that's great.
Wow.
And he lives with the goat.
He's living an enviable diet that a lot of humans here would like, I think. Verdad, Pamela, if you earn money on the end of a call center line than killing yourself a farm. What's the attraction? Young people also associate the countryside with a hard life. Yep. Yet the happiest and friendliest people I've ever met are at peace on their farms, as I am. Siobhan, there are other options, but I'm yet to get an electric tractor. Share the poster and I will share it in my group, says Pam. So I'll do that for sure. And just finally, Siobhan, where is that cattery that is being advertised on the back of the van?
In Gdańsk, which is just outside of Caldish. Actually, and if you look on one of those pictures, if you scan the QR code, we're very proud of it. It works really, really well. So when cars behind. So it's run by Yana and Neil, and they're really wonderful, wonderful people. And I've promised that my little cats that run around here on the farm, if they ever do have to go away, they will go to them, because it looks really cozy and they look after them so well. So strongly recommended that service and glad they're around.
So it's a cat spa, really, as much as a cattery, by the sound of it.
Yeah. Sometimes I want to book into these places. You know, when you go there and you think, God, I wouldn't mind like a few days here, a little weekend here, chill out kind of thing.
It's
not
like
that I'm
horse,
not.
Isn't it? You know, if people could go to the Kinter and be fed fruit and veg for 2 days in the sunshine there, yes.
Carl, stop. You know, there's a lot of people that try and. I thought when I would live on the farm, there'd be no rooms and bedrooms for my friends and family to come, so they wouldn't come too often.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, they all love it, so they all still show up and find a way to spend weeks and stuff here, and it's good fun. Yeah, we love it. Everyone chills out at the farm.
All right, wonderful. So Siobhan, your invitation there, of course, to join you for the beach clean and brunch. That's this Sunday, February the 4th. And did you say 11 a.m. start? For
11 a.m. Yeah, and actually we have a lot of new people coming, which is nice, because obviously we're an ASOS, so we're all private members, but we always open up our events to newcomers as well. So it's always nice. We meet all kinds of people from all over and different ages, everything. So I'm looking forward to this Sunday, because there's a lot of new people that I've never met before.
Excellent. So a good way to meet new people if you're new to the Bay and new to the Silver Coast. That's lovely. So that's you. Anything else you want to add before you go this morning?
You know what? I don't really know. No, have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and stay positive. Enjoy this sunshine, because I think we're extremely lucky. And yeah, and Savvy Cat, I hope we'll meet in person soon, because I've actually, after our last radio session together, I did do a little research. So nice, good job. Keep it up.
Thank you. And yeah, I'd love to pop by, but I'm actually stuck in Porto for a while. I'm actually having surgery on Monday. It's a major surgery, but it's something that I chose optional. So it will take me a while to recover, and I will probably only drop by again by Caldas like in March or so, like end of March.
Well, bless you and good luck with that, Anna. Hope that goes well for you. Do you have some parting words for us, as well as a bon fin semana this weekend, as we go into what's going to be, I think, quite an excitable 2024? And just maybe give us a final view on real estate.
Yeah, I guess given the topic, I would like to say that I'd love to help any expats that were looking to set up their farms in Portugal. To set them up, because like I said, I did grow up on the farm, and I do know basically how it works, even though I don't have that much practical experience.
Well, I think the intention and the willingness and what you obviously know about growing up on farms would go a long way. And it is, I think it is a matter of networking, this, isn't it? Because there are a lot of people who want that life. They don't know where to begin. And there are a lot of people who've lived that life who think, you want to do what? Really? Well, okay. I can help with that. So
I would say that I would love to do that life if I didn't have to worry about financial sustainability.
Yes.
But
so
from a financial sustainability point, like if I didn't have to worry about money, I would be happily setting up a farm. But unfortunately, the money side of things is not sustainable.
Well, I've heard that's why Bill Gates is buying all this land up, so that he can give it to people so that they can live that sort of lifestyle that we're talking about. Maybe. Go on, Siobhan.
No, I just want to say, but there's a huge market. Let's not forget about hobby farming. We're not all talking about big farming. And I think a lot of people are, moving to Portugal for a certain lifestyle. And, you could really help people out finding smaller pieces of land, because farming goes from, 7,000 square meters up kind of thing, could be smaller. So I think there's a huge, I get called often, try and help people as much as I can that are setting up, that buy small pieces of lands. They want to put 1 horse on it, 3 goats. I normally advise them, like, what goats not to buy, which ones, what they're going to live. And there you don't need to have a lot of that. You don't need to pump in a lot of money. You just need to set it up really well and have a good kind of daily plan on how you work and stuff like that. So I think you have a huge market for people that are looking for hobby farms.
Are very much like that, just they have their own crops, and we have a bunch of chickens and ducks and so on in that farm. But it's nothing to sell. It's just for our own family use.
But there's a lot of people looking for that kind of stuff. And for Portuguese people, that's normal. Everyone's grandparents had that.
Yes.
It's normal to grow your cabbages. You don't, to buy your soup and so. And a lot of people are coming in here, and that's what they're looking at is a small piece of land that they can do something on it. So I think, if you can help people out there, you're going to have a lot of people ringing on your doorstep.
I'd do anything I possibly could to help that. I think it's really important that we keep that alive here in Portugal and bring new people into it. And it's, like I say, it's just a matter of making the connections, I think, because the will is there, isn't it? The insight, the knowledge is all there. The culture is there. It's just a matter of like a big switchboard and plugging in the right people to the right situation. Colleen, I always appreciate your insights and knowledge on the show. Obrigada from Colleen to you, Savica. And yes, good luck with the surgery, Anne, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. So bon fin de semana to you both. And yeah, let's make this happen. Let's keep having this conversation and living this saner way of life that I think we're all talking about. And anyone who has got this, who's into this Portuguese way of life.
And people will probably be surprised because farms are often cheaper than apartments in Lisbon.
Well, there you go. There's another. And there are so many people who will probably take care of your farm for you. That's another scheme and project that I saw earlier on this week. There are people who want to do the work, and there are people who want to own the farm. That, although that sounds like old-fashioned,
actually, that's something I should look into, because I actually do have the farm, and it's not doing anything right now. So
become a serf.
You're gonna be so busy today. Everyone's gonna be calling you. Awesome. Call me first, because I may have a plan for you.
Okay, excellent.
Awesome. I gotta go, guys. Carl, thanks so much.
Bye for you.
Bye, Anna. Good luck.